Today, we're looking at Diamine Salamander. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Diamine Salamander is a green ink. And to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I put the ink into a different pen for a day. I then put the ink into a Pierre Cardin President with a medium nib to take my notes for this video. Now before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography. And I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this blue that leaves a line immediately into the filter paper. Now that blue pushes its way up and gets darker as it moves up. And then we get the yellow at the top. The classic yellow and blue makes green. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And that blue line across the bottom is very noticeable, very there. It really makes me feel like that blue may have some hold-on properties to it. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard this ink might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles itself fairly well. That extra fine goes up to be almost a medium in width, but it doesn't blow out and become unreadable, making me feel safe using it in a note-taking situation. Water is lifting all of the yellow off of the paper and some of the blue. It's leaving the blue behind that we saw in the second chromatography that really sank into that paper. Now, pen flush isn't doing anything additional beyond the water. We still see that same level of blue in what's left from the pen flush. It makes me feel like it's not going to be enough to get the blue out. The 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the paper. It may take the 1/3 bleach solution to actually get all of that blue out of your pen, and if it does, you use it quickly and then immediately rinse your pen out with water. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Diamine Salamander has a viscosity of 2.35, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Diamine Salamander has an average dry time of 17 seconds, making it not just normal, but average. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shading, because it's a little wetter. The extra fine is a lighter tone than we get with the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen. It has some really nice shading that's going on here. It is beautiful. Quick, starts dark, it gets light, it gets super dark at the I to C, gets light in between the C and the K, and then super dark at the K, and it is wonderful. It is like this all over. Brown shows me light into dark, light at the top, light at the bottom, super dark into the RO, light into the WN. Wonderful. I love how much this ink shades, and it is a great tone. 11 seconds to dry. Now medium is the same tone as the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and the shading is amazing. In quick, it's very dark. On the left side, it gets lighter. In the middle, the UI is super dark. The C lightens up some, and the K, while it's got dark areas, it's got light areas, all in the same letter. Brown, the up and down stroke are a mid-tone, and then it gets very dark into the loop and stays dark all the way through. Fox starts nice and light and works its way dark. Lazy starts dark and works its way lighter. Beautiful. 16 seconds to dry.
The scrubby for both show us some color variation, not as much on camera. You have to look far left to far right, and you can see it in both the extra fine and the medium, and we did get it up here. And the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River, the ink killer. I know some people love it. It brings out sheen. It kills shade. That's my #1 thing that I prefer. Tomoe River has no bleeding, some ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 18 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 24 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. And the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Rhodia, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and it has some interesting shading spots where it goes from the dark to mid to dark, like up in Salamander. It's a mid-tone coming up, super dark at the top, mid-tone right here on the S, super dark all the way down. It stays super dark the rest of the way through, but then we get spots where it's lighter, like in this top part of the A, nice and lighter tone. But the word Diamine, very dark all the way. It's a wetter pen. More inks going down. The extra fine has no feather, the extra fine is a slightly lighter tone. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen. Shading that's coming through is wonderful. On quick, nice and dark, into mid-tone, into super dark. Brown starts very dark and works its way lighter. Wonderful stuff. A lot of it is very dark writing, but then when we get the lighter spots, it really stands out. Like right here and over. Nice and so it's dark into light, gets very dark. Beautiful stuff. 13 seconds to dry. Medium. Medium is a little bit darker than the extra fine, not quite as dark as the 1.1. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and it has wonderful shading. Brown really has it stand out because it's a nice light tone, super dark tone. In the middle of the W, it turns to a light tone and back into a dark tone on the N. Fox starts nice and light, becomes dark down at the bottom of this hoop, light up again, super dark into the rest of Fox. It is fantastic. My voice was all scratchy. I apparently needed a drink. 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby of both don't show us a lot of color variation, but we did get plenty of good color variation. In a smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Original Crown Mill. This is a very nice laid paper. It does not like this ink. We have a lot of bleed spots that come through, which I feel could make it confusing visually reading it, although it's not horrible. And for many people, they would be able to just use the back of the page and it's not a big deal. It did not touch the page underneath. But this ink does seep deep into the page. No real ghosting there. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shading whatsoever. Now the extra fine is a noticeably lighter tone than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 6 seconds to dry. Need to take my glasses off. They're bothering me a little bit. 6 seconds to dry. The medium. The medium is a noticeably darker tone than the extra fine. About the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shading here. 10 seconds to dry. This is a little more fiber, it being a laid paper, it seeps in a little bit more and it can kill some of the shading an ink can have. 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. In the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Black and red notebooks. No bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter tone. I just bumped the camera with my forehead. Sorry. Not my four heads. I only have one head, but my forehead. I don't know why they call it that. The extra fine is a slightly lighter tone than the 1.1. It has no feather spread halo sheen. It has some beautiful shading spots, like the starts light and gets dark, quick starts dark, gets light and gets dark again, brown starts dark and gets light, jumps starts light and gets dark, over starts dark, gets light and gets dark again. It is wonderful here. 8 seconds to dry. The medium is a darker tone than we get with the with the extra fine. Same tone we got with the 1.1. It has no feather spread halo sheen. There's spots of shading that come through. It's very dark, and the spots that come through are only when it's lighter. Like on the parts of the J, the top part of the J is lighter. That part of the hoop is a little lighter, but the rest of jumps is very dark. In quick, the very top of the Q is light. The bottom loop of the Q is light. The rest is super dark. Only do we get spots that are a little bit lighter, but no real shading otherwise. 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows us almost no color variation, but we do see some up here. The medium shows us none, and we saw bits of it being lighter, but no real color variation going on. That could be me writing, where I tend to be a little lighter even on a paper. I don't really press into the paper, but I could have been a little bit lighter. That might be the writer style over the ink there. The smear test you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. Limon paper that hates liquid inks didn't do too good. Lots of deep bleeding in, but not bleeding through. It does not touch the page underneath, but you could not use the back of the page. Lots of ghosting. The 1.1 has spread, has feathers, lots of feathers, gross feathers all over. Don't buy this notebook. I'm going to use it up, never go back, unless they entirely change their paper, because this is bad. No halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no spread, tiny feathers all over it. Tiny little feathers. Especially, on the K, on the B, on the E. Lazy is nice and clear. That's nice. Dog, not so much. 6 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. It has no feather spread. No feather. It has tons of feathering all over it. All over it. Look at Quick. Quick is flat out blurry. Much better on camera than it is in person. If I look in the monitor, pretty good. I look at the paper, blurry. Feel like I should get my eyes checked. It has spread. No halo, no sheen, no shade. 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. In the smear test, hey, there's your good news. You can't smear this ink, really. But I would not want to use this ink on this paper. I don't want to use this paper ever again after I'm done using it up. That is all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Diamine Salamander, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. And being a very dark green, I wanted a very bright orange. And I went with Robert Oster's Orange Zest. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Diamine's Salamander? Well, if you use it in a very wet pen, the color you get is very dark and lacking in real character and comes across kind of dull. But when you use it in drier pens, the shading that this ink can bring out and show you is absolutely wonderful. It's not that there's anything wrong with the dark green of the wet pen. The dry pen's shading, I really enjoy. Thanks for watching.